All right, so welcome to this update. Now, the initial blueprint did not have some of the things that I added after publishing the first version 1.0. So I've decided to call this video version 1.1. Essentially, a few things were added, and I felt it was necessary to do a video just to make sure that you don't miss on anything. So we're just going to go through the chapters and the pages that I feel that were not in the initial version, and yeah, to bring you up to speed. So we have here the table of content. So if you had already gone through the first video, you would notice that this table of content does contain a few things that were not in the video you just went through. And instead of doing everything from beginning to end, I just felt, let me just do a supplementary video to go through all of that. All right. So all of this I did the initial video, so I wouldn't burg you with a lot of details here, but there are a few things I'm going to add, and that is, let's just get there. All right. So let's even start with the golden cat. Can't recall if this was in the video, but I'll just give a highlight of this. Now, the blueprint itself, it's a tool that's to tell you, if you work with this tool, this is going to be a pathway for you to really become wealthy through trading. And I sincerely mean it. Now, the golden catch here is that the key advantage has said here, and why this hack only applies to the first trade of the week is if, now I assume you know this golden catch here simply speaks to the fact that if you take the first trade, that means you can scale in sort of. So let's say your first trade, you're risking $100. You're at level 2, and level 2, you're risking $100. Now, instead of just risking $100, if the trade is already going in your direction, you can scale in with the second trade for that level that's risking $200, and you can stack it. And I'm also going to show you an example. Here's an example of a trade that is currently ongoing. So today, I'm recording this video on Monday. Now, this was the first trade for the day. You can see here, so assuming we risk $100 for this level, and then the second trade, we risk $200. So that means instead of just taking flipping the $100 to as our first trade, we would have already, gotten the second position, by risking the same $250 I started with, but now we risk $100, and then here we're risking $200. And if this goes in that direction, we simply have used one trade, multiple positions, to essentially close 2 trade setups. And we can stack this, by risking $200. But my advice is, once the first trade has already played out, you don't stack the third trade, okay? You just now take it one after the other, okay? Just so that you don't expose yourself too much. Now, that is simply what this means. Now, the golden catch is essentially you're able to, close 2 trade positions. You're able to close 2 positions rather, and also close 2 trades depending, on a particular level using just one trade idea. All right. So that's just what the golden catch here talks about. Now, let me go to really where I want to highlight a few things that are new to the plan. So let's get that. Okay, so let me speak to this. So the capital preservation, the hidden skill of $1 million traders. Now, one thing you need to understand is that capital is your ammunition, right? So once it's gone, your skill becomes useless. And that is why, I continue to find ways to help traders in terms of, your psychology and how to make sure that you're taking trades that actually work, trades that are in line, that are really, in a place where they really help your psychology in a way that you don't, risk unnecessarily, and you end up making so much from risking so little. So this chapter here on capital preservation simply focuses on the fact that you need to understand that capital is your ammunition. Without that, you don't have nothing. Okay, so you may have the skill, but if you don't have capital, then your skill is useless. So you need to understand that you have to learn how to preserve capital. And that's why I decided to modify, the plan essentially to make sure that that is really captured. So here, it says that in this system, preservation comes before profit. Your ability to maintain composure, reset after losses, and protect your base capital determines how far you go. So the preservation framework is this: fixed R, no emotional reentries, weekly reset discipline, cash out rule, and the safety fund. So you have a fixed hours depending on level you're in. If you're level 1, $50, you trade 1, then trade $200, and you go like that. So you have a very fixed hour, and also your profit is very fixed. There's no, modification. You don't allow for greed and all of those things, and then no emotional re-entries. Okay, so if you take a loss, don't jump into the next one. Then if you do that, then you're not following the plan. You're not following the blueprint, right? So no emotional re-entries whatsoever. Okay, so when you make a loss, you simply reset, go back, to the previous step, and you take a pause. Okay, you wait for the next setup. Your weekly reset discipline. When starting the week, you don't say, "Oh, last week I couldn't finish level the trade, so I'll continue from the last trade." No, reset. Okay, that is part of the discipline. Every new week you reset, and then the cash out rule, you withdraw your profits. Once a level objectives are met, you withdraw the profit, or once the week ends, you withdraw the profit for that week. You don't take the profit from last week into this week. You reset. You can't leave, of course, the base in preparation for the next week, but you withdraw your profit. And then the safety fund is you maintain a separate reserve fund to restart in case of a full drawdown. So of course, if you follow the plan, you always have extra funds to put back into the market. Now, the logic of result, your built-in net, I think this was part of the old one, so I don't have to, I'll just highlight this. So trade $100, you win, your risk doubles to 200. Okay, you lose, your risk reverts to $100, and then you win, you continue scaling like that. Okay, so that said, let's see here. Okay, so how to use the blueprint. Yeah, so this is one of the new things. Now you must understand the framework. Now, before you start trading, understand that the goal is mastery. Okay, not rushing through levels. Not, oh, I have 5 trades. Okay, I'm just going to rush on Monday. I'm going to take all the 5 trades. No, there's no need to rush. And you have to learn that. Okay, so understand the framework. The goal is mastery, not rushing through trades. You're not trying to boast to anyone. That's true. The thing about trading is a lot of traders get it wrong, because many traders are trading because they want to show on social media, that they know how to trade. That shouldn't be your goal. Your goal is survival. Your goal is you want to thrive. You really want to understand this thing and make profit from the market, not to show anybody anything, to make this your life. So you have to take it seriously. So each level represents a week's trading challenge. So 5 trades max. If you hit your goal, that is, you only advance when you've repeated the level success twice. That's very important. For you to succeed with this goal of saying $1 million monthly, it's possible, but you have to understand that you can only succeed if you follow the plan to the latter. You can't be skipping levels and then you haven't banked what you require to bank at a particular level and you're skipping levels. No, that wouldn't make sense. Then you're not following the plan. You're simply following your own plan, right? So your risk doubles with each successful trade, but resets after a loss. Very important. Step 2, you start small and you think big. So your starting risk for week 1 on level 1 is $50 per trade with a 1 to 4 risk to reward. So you take up to 5 trades in a week with a goal of 6,200 by the end of the week. You prove that the system works. You repeat this twice before moving to level 2. Very important. Okay. Now, step 3 on how to use this blueprint is that you apply the rules without exception. The system thrives on discipline. I repeat that. The system thrives on discipline. Very important. Without discipline, you can't really go far. Now, to get consistent results, you must follow these operational rules. 1, only one active ladder at a time. I've explained already that if you are taking the first trade, because that's your first trade after all, if you lose it, you lose it. And if the trade is going your direction, you can decide to take the second one or stack the second one. But that is only allowed with the first trade. After the first trade plays out, you can't stack. You only take one trade per time. Okay. And if you're not even comfortable stacking, no need stacking. Just leave it. Okay. Because for you to stack, it also has to follow the plan. So you can see here, for example, this, first we had inducement here, engineering liquidity. We entered this. We still had the same structure. Okay. Engineering liquidity ahead of this breaker block. We entered. So you must still follow the plan. So there is no room for modification, for just doing things that are outside of the plan. All right. Now calculate your risk exactly. You use your journal or use Chartomics. Chartomics is the journaling platform. At the time of watching this video, it's possible already have the app already out. But in case we don't have it, use the journaling app you're using to keep record, compute your positions, wisely and precisely and all of that. Now declare your entry, your stop, your target before execution. Based on how, I trade, I don't enter, market orders. My trades with market orders is usually limit orders. So if you're trading like me, you've gone through the trading strategy, most likely you trade the same way. However, if you're not trading like me, you have your own strategy. For this to work, you have to always have a stop loss, a take profit, and a defined entry. Now respect the reset rule. If you take a loss, you must go back to the previous step. You cannot scale, and say, oh no, I'm so confident with this setup, I'm going to see trade, at the same level. Then you're not following the blueprint. Then stop after 5 trades, per week. That means if you meet your target. Okay. So if you meet your target, you stop and you reset. If you still have room, assuming you got 5 trades back to back to back to back win, right? You can still take it. You can still trade again, but you have to reset and start all over again. Okay. So, but if you take 5 trades and you meet your target, is the end of the week, stop and then just prepare for the next week. Okay. So this maintains structure and prevents over trading. Now, these are not suggestions. They're the pillars that make the blueprint psychologically bulletproof. And this is very important because this is a psychology blueprint, because it just helps to keep your mind calm. If you can start with $50 and end with 6,200, that's a lot. Okay. So if you follow this sincerely and truly, you're going to be amazing. All right. So step 4 is weekly review and reset. At the end of every week, review your trades, wins, losses, setups, and also discipline lapses. Review, record your results in Chatomics, the app I talked about, and our app, of course, our journaling app. Reset emotionally and financially. Start the fresh week, same level if needed. If you achieve the weekly goal twice in a row, advance to the next level. Right? This repetition builds confidence and precision, the real skill behind consistency. Now, bank and advance. Number 5. When you complete a level successfully twice, bank your profits before moving. In fact, not just twice. Once you bank, next you bank. Always bank your profit. And then, it helps you to mark those milestones, and it gives you the confidence to come back in the market, because what you're doing is working. You started the week with $50 and you're ending with 6,200. Even if you don't get there, maybe you're ending with 1,000, you're ending with 2,000. That's a lot. Okay. So bank your profit and repeat the same cycle again and again. Now, step 6, maintain emotional balance. Trading mastery is 70% psychology, 30% strategy. Very important. Keep in mind, detach from outcome, focus on process, not result. Don't trade when emotional. Fear, greed, and excitement destroy discipline, right? You're excited. Oh, I made profit today. That's usually for novices. Okay. For people who have really been through the thick and the thin of the market, they are not excited at profit, neither are they excited at losses. Okay. You're just there. So don't allow those things destroy your discipline. Now, stick to the blueprint, even when you feel tempted to tweak it. This is very important. This is blueprint. My promise to you is that this blueprint is going to work for you, but you have to stick to it. Okay. Now, remember, the system works because you follow it. If you're modifying it and you're tweaking it, then you're not actually doing what the blueprint promises you that you can accomplish. Now, step 7 is compound wisdom, not just capital. Now, as you trade, use Chatomics and the blueprint side by side. So Chatomics is the journaling app. Hopefully, the app will be out soon. If at the time of watching this, the app is already out, make sure you're using Chatomics for your journaling, and you use it side by side. So you trade, you track each week's performance, psychological triggers, fear, overconfidence, impatience, record lessons learned, celebrate milestones, not just profits. The trader who documents growth becomes unstoppable. And that's just the truth. If you document your growth, you will become literally unstoppable. All right. Now, in summary, your blueprint flow: preparation, execution, review, advance, and sustain. So you understand the model, you trade 5 setups max, you assess your weekly progress. After 2 times success at the level, you progress to the next level, and you stay consistent. Very important. The cycle just goes again and again and again. If you do this, I tell you that you would see the results. You're going to be trading with a lot of peace and a lot of rest. And you're going to be trading with a lot of confidence, because, you have the capacity to do something that a lot of people cannot do. Imagine taking $50 to 6,200 for level 1. That's a lot. Now, a lot of traders will need to maybe risk like $1,000, $2,000 to do that. But you are starting with $50 and you have a very clear roadmap. I tell you, you have a secret weapon most traders don't have. Okay. So the blueprint is not a get rich quick scheme, right? even though it says $1 million monthly, but you can see that there's a clear pathway to get in there. Now, it's a structured mastery process. When followed correctly, it gives you the power to trade calmly, profit consistently, and build wealth intelligently, not recklessly. Okay. Now, the goal is not to win every trade. The goal is to win every week. Okay. And that's why, we have a weekly plan. So that's the goal. So you took a loss, no problem. Wait for the next trade setup. You can't even get multiple trade setups, within a single day if you're patient enough. So trade the blueprint, trust the process, and bank the result. Very important. All right. So I think with this, I've gone through some of the things that I feel are new in the blueprint. I can't see if there's any other thing that I haven't gone through right now. If you don't take the psychology course, of course, I believe for you to see this video, most likely have enrolled in psychology course. But there's also the mastermind. If you're not in the mastermind, you can click this, and this will take you to the mastermind where I trade live with other mastermind members. So you can come and join us there. Looking at this, I think I have gone through all the additional, chapters that were added in the blueprint. So I'm not sure there's any other thing I need to touch on here. So just to remind you again, anything is possible if you believe, okay? If you believe it is possible, but you have to be patient with yourself. Forget about all the hype on social media and all the people chasing clout. Focus on mastering the skill. If you master the skill, you're going to become unstoppable, okay? As I speak to you, I'm also on the journey. I wouldn't tell you, of course, the level I'm at, but this is something that was given to me, in my bid to just find something that really works. And if you implement this, this is going to be life-changing. It is possible to earn $1 million monthly using this. Now, think about this, for example. This is level 7 we have here. Imagine that you're able to transform or change or multiply $3,200 to almost $400,000, in a week. That's a lot. That is a lot. Okay. And that is possible using this. How many people can do this, risking this amount of capital? The pathway to getting there, that's really where the game changer is. Like, you're risking something that is less than 0.4% of your net worth, of your money, your cash in the bank, and you'll have the ability to multiply that. That's powerful. All right. So enough said. I just want to wish you all the best. This is version 1. So as I get more insight, version 2.0 is going to come out. And I'm going to be sharing a lot, with you as we progress, in the journey of trading together. So I want to believe you've actually picked something from this. Please, I encourage you, follow the blueprint and the results will follow. I wish you all the best. Take care and bye-bye. Cheers.